Харе Кришна, дорогой Гуру Махарадж, Харе Кришна, дорогие вайшнавы.
Харе Кришна. So let us begin. With offering Prabhupada some prayers of Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskatyade Siddharane. Today I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, text number 11. Chapter 9 is called The Most Confidential Knowledge. And it's a very long purport. I'll just read the translation and then just a summary of the purport of the different paragraphs. 1 second, please. Come in.
Can we join?
Yes, if you're quiet. Avijananti mamudha manushindhanam ashityam parambhavam jananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. The fools, they deride at my descending into this human-like form. They don't know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. So here in Srila Prabhupada's purport, which is one of the longest purports in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that to begin with, that Lord Krishna is not an ordinary person, that he's the supreme controller, his body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. The foolish, they consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of Lord Krishna, of the Supreme Lord, and his different energies. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He is the master of the material energy. If a soul surrendered to Lord Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception. So they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. When Lord Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, also it is stated that Arjuna prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. Tenaiva Rupena Chatur Bhujena. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjuna, again assumed his original human-like form, Manushanam Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not that of an ordinary human being. Lord Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as the Supersoul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archa Vigra Murti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, and does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshiping the form of the Lord in the temple. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body is the embodiment of the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Although his personal abode is Goloka Vrindavan, he is always staying there. By his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of the material and spiritual creation. So that's the end of my summary of Srila Prabhupada's purport. Now, there's a difference between a person who's intelligent and a person who's foolish. Person, as Prabhupada used to say, rascaldom means to accept a man as God and to accept God as man. This is rascaldom. Avajananti mamuda. We can understand who is intelligent and who is a rascal by this criteria. So in another place, Krishna says, Namam diskritino muda prapadente naradama, 7:15 Bhagavad Gita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among men, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender to me. So Krishna says that the mudhas, the rascals, they don't surrender to me. So although Krishna is going around, or we could say canvassing, he's telling people to surrender to him. Sarva dharma prajaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. That if one does that, that Krishna will deliver one from all the reactions of material existence or from sinful activities. That one should not be afraid, that Krishna can protect one under all circumstances. But those who are rascals, they won't accept this. Although Krishna has explained in Bhagavad Gita how he's controlling the sun, how it's moving in its orbit, how he's the fire of digestion in everyone's stomach, how he's giving everyone remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So a thoughtful person will understand that there must be a supreme person. There must be a controller. Just like someone may claim that there is no supreme controller, but he can only do that because the supreme controller is giving him the power to say that. Otherwise, if the person becomes paralyzed, although he may want to say that there is no God, but because he's paralyzed, he can't say anything. So who's given him the power to say something and who's taking that power away? Just like, as I've often pointed out, time. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that time is one of the major elements that's governing the material energy. That the material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. But time is the controller of these three modes. And under the purview of time in the three modes are activities that are coming about called karma. Now, time is controlling everything in the universe. There's nothing in the universe which is not being changed by the influence of time. Even our very dear and near body that we love so much, at every moment, due to the influence of time, it's changing. But Krishna's first instruction is, although time may change everything in the material world, including our body that we can perceive as changing, still we within the body are not changing. So we're not under the influence of time in the sense that time doesn't change us, but time is changing our experience because our experience in material existence is everything that we perceive through our senses and our mind. And therefore, although we may be eternal, but we're not controlling this great material energy, which is being controlled by time. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, time I am. Time is not changing everything arbitrarily, but with great precision and great intelligence. Otherwise, how can we explain that the sun, which is so powerful and so immense, could rise exactly at a certain time during the morning and set at a certain time in the evening? That's within our experience, that if the sun is so powerful that it can give the whole universe unlimited heat and light, and yet it's being directed in an orbit, then there must be great intelligence behind the person who's great power and intelligence behind the person who's moving the sun exactly in an orbit for millions and millions of years. Therefore, again, an intelligent person, he accepts the existence of the Supreme Person. And a mudha, a fool, he thinks that himself or others are the Supreme. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna keeps on saying that there's a difference between intelligence, a person who accepts the Supreme Person, and a person who doesn't. For instance, in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Utkramantam stitim vapi, punjana vagunanvita, vimudo nanupashanti, pashanti jnana chakshusha. The foolish, they cannot understand what kind of body one enjoys under the spell of the material nature, how the living entity quits his body, or what kind of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But those whose eyes are trained with knowledge can see all this clearly. In other words, in the human form of life, we're supposed to be trained so we can see things clearly. Present society, no one sees anything clearly. Training in present society means it may be like this or maybe like that. Today we declare it's like this, and tomorrow we declare it's something else. When I went to school, even in high school, they were telling that in 1920, the scientists, after an extensive investigation, declared that light was a wave. And the person who discovered that got the Nobel Prize for physics. But within 10 years, they declared that everything he discovered was wrong, that actually light is a particle. And then 20 years later, they declared that both of them were wrong, that life is not a wave, light is not a particle, it's a wavicle. And probably in another 20 years, they'll declare that light is a popsicle or something like that, an ice cream cone. Because actually they don't know, every conditioned soul cannot see beyond his own nose. Well, I should say he can't see his own nose, and yet he declares he knows everything about the universe. But Krishna says that those who are foolish, they don't know that the body is changing, but they're not changing. They're eternal. And even the body that they're presently situated in, they don't know what kind of body they have. They don't know about the modes of nature, how the body is made out of different material elements and is influenced by the modes. Although we can see that some people are intelligent, some people are very passionate, trying to always gain material things, and some people are very lazy. But people don't think like that. They think that nowadays that everyone is equal. Doesn't matter if you're intelligent or passionate or lazy, that everyone has the same body. Whatever body you think you have, then that's the body you have. There's become so foolish. I read somewhere today that in children's schools in America, in the bathroom, they put cat litter where the cats evacuate, because some children now identify themselves as cats. So in order to provide them resources for the bathroom, they put cat litter in the bathroom so that children identify themselves as cats can use the bathroom properly. So this is called not only mudha, this is called craziness. So people are not only misdirected, but they're misdirected in a way that's making them more and more foolish. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he's the Ishvara, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha. So what is the problem of accepting that Krishna is God? Who is a better example of the Supreme Lord than Krishna? That when Krishna was here, at least historically speaking, with the left pinky of it, with the pinky of his left hand, he held up Govardhan Hill for 7 days and nights. So where is the example of a so-called person who claims to be a god who can lift Govardhan Hill and hold it in his left pinky for 7 days and nights? In other words, according to historical records, Krishna, when he appeared here 5,000 years ago, he fulfilled all the different qualifications to become God. For instance, according to Parasara Muni, there's a definition of God, that not anyone can claim to be God and therefore accepted as God. Parasara Muni says, Aishvaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashastriyaha jnana vairagyas chaiva shana bhagahitinganaha. That God is a person who has unlimited beauty, that everyone has some beauty, but there must be someone who's the most beautiful. There must be someone who has the most wealth, the most intelligence, the most strength, the most renunciation. After all, there must be an original person. Otherwise, how do we become persons? If the original source of everything was impersonal, then how from the impersonal personality came? Does the air produce people from it? Even the air is not impersonal, it's energy. But how is it possible that from nothing, personality has come? Otherwise, if that was true, why don't more people come out of nothing? Why do people have children just out of nothing? More people would be coming out of nothing all the time. The whole world would be overpopulated. There would be no place to stand because nothing would be producing unlimited people out of nothing. But we can see that we had fathers and mothers, and our fathers and mothers had fathers and mothers, and they had fathers and mothers. So the original person must also be a person. The original source of everything must also be a person. But the original person has everything we have, but to an unlimited degree. Otherwise, how could he be the source of everything? So that actual education means to find out what the source of everything is. And the source of everything is a person. So that's called intelligent. And one who denies that, they're called a mudha, foolish. a whole civilization is more or less based upon trying to proclaim that there is no God, or that everyone is God, and that we don't have to follow God. And therefore, because of that, they're always striving in the wrong direction, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. All the problems we have in modern civilization are because they can't believe that there could be a person who knows everything and that he could actually speak. And that when he speaks, that knowledge can be recorded and people can hear it. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago to Arjuna, and he explains about ourselves as spiritual beings and about himself as a supreme spiritual being. So one can examine it and see what is the problem, what is the fault in Bhagavad Gita. And if one cannot find any fault, then one has to accept it. Or as one Christian priest said, these Hare Krishnas, they must be from the devil, because their philosophy is so perfect that only the devil could have created it. That instead of accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he's giving perfect philosophy, and therefore he must know past, present, and future, instead they criticize Krishna for this perfect philosophy. So that can only be caused by envy. Now, there are many great personalities, learned personalities, who put forward philosophy, perfect philosophy, and all these acharyas, they've also accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that we have to hear from him in order to understand things perfectly, because an ordinary person, he can't put forward perfect knowledge. An ordinary person, their senses are imperfect, so they can't see things as they actually are. They commit mistakes, and therefore, at the end of every pencil, there's an eraser, generally speaking, because it's known that as soon as you write something down, you may have to erase it. And there's a tendency to cheat. Or we could say, first, people are an illusion. They think they're their body. So if anyone is in the Bali concept of life and is putting forward philosophy, since they don't even know the basic knowledge that life is eternal, therefore everything they're saying is more or less a waste of time, ultimately. It may have some relative knowledge, but ultimately, since they're an illusion, their philosophy is also based on illusion. And there's a tendency to cheat. As we can see in modern society, cheating is quite prevalent in every aspect. Just like they said that this lockdown should be for 2 weeks, and then the curve will be over and everything can go back to normal. And here we are over 2 years later, and things are still not quite normal, because normal is not normal, but even their normal is not now. As we know, that is a very easy way of knowing when a politician is lying. Who can say the easy way of knowing when a politician is lying? Anyone know? There's a surefire way of finding out. There's an infallible method of discerning when a politician is lying. Yes, Agnihotra? Yes.
When he
You
moves,
want
when he moves
he
his
say
lips,
that he want to help people.
when he moves his lips, when he moves his
Yes.
lips, that
That's right. Pandit Vijayapur was right. As soon as a politician starts moving his lips, you know they're lying. So this tendency to cheat is there. As a matter of fact, the whole society is based upon cheating. Everyone is claiming themselves to be an authority, but they can't stop the real problems of life. The real problems of life are birth, death, old age, and disease. Now, if we don't know we're eternal, we just, in a depressing way, we simply accept the fact that life is so short. You work hard and struggle and have a very unhappy life, and then you die. Not a very enlivening philosophy of life. But those who are in illusion, those who are claiming themselves to be an authority, those who will not accept Krishna's authority about the eternality of the soul and the existence as a supreme person, then they can't really solve any real problem of life. For the soul, the real problem of life is not that he's not getting enough to eat. The real problem of life is that he thinks he needs something to eat to survive. Many people have died from starvation, but they didn't die. Only their body died, and they went on to take another body. So the soul is not killed by either birth or death or old age or disease, but because he thinks he is, therefore he's transmigrating from one body to another uselessly. And because modern mudhas, people who are foolish, who don't accept Krishna's authority, or engage in all kinds of sinful activities, beginning with killing animals, especially the cow and bull, and basing their whole economic system on such sinful activities, which lead to all the other sinful activities, namely illicit sex and gambling and intoxication, which are all based upon forgetfulness of Krishna, which is the ultimate sinful activity, which leads to all the other sinful activities. Because modern society is based upon that, they deny the real problems of life and how to solve them by waking up to our real consciousness of eternality and bliss. So Krishna, he showed when he was here 5,000 years ago that if we understand Krishna, then Krishna will give us all protection just by taking shelter of Krishna. Just like, and there is always a fight between the demigods and the demons, the asuras. This is an eternal fight in the material world. The modes of material nature that we're under, they're never compatible with each other. It's not that the demons are glorifying the demigods. One day the demigods wake up and think, we've been so unfair to the demons wake up one day and they say, we've been so unfair to the demigods. We should try to be kinder to them, find some good quality in the demigods, maybe try to make peace with them. Maybe we should even become demigods. No, the demons eternally in the material world, they hate the demigods. They're in competition with the demigods. They want to get rid of the demigods. And the demigods, if they're real demigods, they don't want to become a demon. It's not that Indra thinks, I've been a demigod too long, maybe I should get some bad association, become a demon. No, the demigods and the demons, they're perpetually fighting since time immemorial. Sometimes it appears that the demigods are winning, sometimes the demons are winning, but they never become, what we could say, friendly with each other. They may make a truce with each other for some time, but those who are demigods, they take shelter of Vishnu. And those who are demons, they take shelter of their false ego, and they're always against Vishnu, against Krishna. So in the fight between the demigods and the demons, which often takes place, such as the fight on the shore of the ocean of milk, after Mohini Murti gave the nectar to the demigods, the demons became very disturbed and they started a war against the demigods, which took place on the shore of the ocean of milk. It's quite a fight. Maybe one day we'll take birth and we can, as a demigod, and we can take part in the fight. I hope not. Anyhow, it was an exciting fight. And eventually the demigods, they took shelter of Vishnu because they were having a hard time with the demons. The demons were so enthusiastic to fight that even when their bodies were killed, they came back as ghosts, the demons picked up their dead bodies and continued on with the fighting. That's how enthusiastic they were. We should only become so enthusiastic to spread Krishna consciousness that even after we leave our body, we come back and we pick up our body and distribute books with it. That's quite rare to have that enthusiasm. But the demons had that enthusiasm that even after their bodies were killed on the shore of the ocean of milk, fighting against the demigods, they picked up their dead bodies with their ghostly bodies, and they continued on with the fighting. That's called determination. So the demigods were finding rather a hard time fighting against such determined demons. So they immediately took shelter of Vishnu, prayed to Vishnu to come and help them. And indeed, Krishna, Vishnu, came riding on the back of Garuda and began to slay the demons, including Kalanimi. Kalanimi, a big, famous, powerful demon, was riding on a lion. And when he saw Vishnu riding on Garuda, he took a trident and threw it at Vishnu in order to try to kill him. Luckily, Krishna caught the trident and threw it back at Kalanimi and killed him. And Kalanimi died. But that doesn't mean that was the end of his demoniac activities. Instead, he came back as, guess who? Does anyone know who Kalanimi came back as?
Kamsa.
Kamsa, yes, he came back as Kamsa, our favorite demon in Krishna's pastimes. So the demons, they never take shelter of Vishnu. They want to kill Vishnu. And therefore Krishna comes and reciprocates with him and he kills them. And the demigods, if they're actual demigods in the right consciousness, they know Krishna is the supreme person. They know he's in charge of the universe. And therefore they take shelter of him, and inevitably Krishna comes and protects them. Now, if a demigod took shelter of Vishnu, like Prahlad Maharaj, if a demon took shelter of Vishnu, like Prahlad Maharaj, then Vishnu would come and protect him because he's taken shelter. And when the demigods don't take shelter of Krishna, instead they attack him, then they get into trouble, like Brahma or Indra, when they forgot Krishna's supremacy, or they got into difficulty. So anyone who takes shelter of Krishna, as Krishna showed in the Govardhan Leela, when the residents of Vrindavan were being attacked by King Indra in the form of massive rainstorms and hail, then Krishna came and lifted Govardhan Hill and protected the gopis and other residents of Vrindavan. So although he appears to be like an ordinary boy, although he appears to be a coward boy, the son of Mother Jasoda, depending upon Mother Jasoda and the other coward men and women of Vrindavan for his protection. But when the time came, he showed that he was God, and he lifted Govardhan Hill. So there are different classes of people in this world. Some of them can immediately accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And others, they have so many doubts. They're not atheists, but they have so many doubts. How is it that Krishna can be God? Just like Brahma, he himself, such an intelligent person who could create a universe, he had doubts about Krishna. And therefore, he tested Krishna and stole the cowherd boys and the calves and hid them in a cave for a year. What to speak of ordinary people who have so many doubts about Krishna. Therefore, Krishna comes and speaks Bhagavad Gita and explains how he's God, explains how the universe is operating, how he has become the sun and the moon and all the other planets in the universe, how he's moving them in his orbit, how he's in our heart giving us remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness, how he's giving us the fire of digestion, therefore we can eat food and digest it, assimilate it, and unnecessary parts are eliminated. Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita so that one can cultivate knowledge about him. And by such cultivation of knowledge, Krishna says, Bhavanam Janmanam Ante, Jnanamam Prapadite, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, Saramahatma Sudurlavaha. That after many, many births and deaths of such cultivation of knowledge, one will finally come to the understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore surrender to him. One can take it in the very long way, try to cultivate knowledge, try to understand Krishna, which is very nice, or one can immediately accept Krishna must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I should follow his instructions. As it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Priyojitaha Jnana Yaisu Vairagyam Jnana Chatad Bahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So, it is not necessary simply to study, that if one actually becomes a devotee of Krishna, of Vasudeva, then causeless knowledge and detachment will come. Of course, we should study Srila Prabhupada's books so that we know how to perform devotional service. We know how to become Krishna conscious. But the idea is not to study. It's to do service, to come to the platform. We accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we do service out of love for him. Believe it or not, if you go back to the spiritual world, if we all go back to the spiritual world, there is no Bhagavad Gita there. If you ask someone there, can you please give me a copy of the Bhagavad Gita that I forgot a verse? They'll ask you, what is the Bhagavad Gita? And you'll say, you've never heard the Bhagavad Gita? You don't read the Bhagavad Gita? Prabhupada said you should read the Bhagavad Gita. Now in the spiritual world, where one is rendering uninterrupted, unalloyed, loving service to Krishna, they're at every moment, they're fulfilling the ultimate conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. So here also, we should study the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, but at the same time, we should try to do our activities in this world out of devotion for Krishna under the guidance of his representatives. Then everything will be revealed to us by Krishna within the heart. So there's one process to become a devotee of Vasudeva, and then Vairagya and Jnana will automatically come. Because without Jnana and Vairagya, there is no question of liberation, or I should say. Unless there is perfection of knowledge, Jnana, there can't be Vairagya. Unless we fully understand that we're eternal, then naturally and that there's an eternal life, then naturally it's very difficult to become detached from this material concepts of life. Unless there's vairagya, detachment, it's not possible to become distasteful of material existence. And unless one is distasteful of material existence, there's no question of liberation. And actual devotional service begins at the platform of liberation, where one can actually focus one's mind upon Krishna and try to love him, and try to see the devotees in relation to Krishna and try to cooperate with them for Krishna's pleasure, especially to help innocent people make advancement towards their relationship with Krishna and become detached from unwanted association. But this jnana vairagya can be obtained if we simply try to render unalloyed service to Krishna under the guidance of his representatives. So Prabhupada used to use the example of his Western boys and girls. They had all opportunity for sense gratification. That in the Western world, there was no shortage of food or money or men, women, but they left everything, although they were young, and they joined the Hare Krishna movement. So that Prabhupada uses proof that by rendering service to Krishna, even such young boys and girls were able to keep themselves aloof from material enjoyment. So undoubtedly they're experiencing some degree of knowledge and renunciation. So this is actual education. Shri Narottam Das Thakur therefore sings, Hari Hari Bhipale Janama Guaino, Manusha Janma Paya, Radha Krishna Nabhajiya, Janiya Sunya Vishakaino. O Lord Hari, I've wasted my life. Although I've taken this rare human birth, like a miser, I've not served Radha and Krishna, and thus I've knowingly drunk poison. So this Radha Krishna worship is the perfection of renunciation, of life, of upasana, of worship. It's even better than Vishnu worship. In the material way of life, Vishnu worship has always been recommended as the highest. But Lord Shiva told his wife, Parvati, Aradhananam Savesham, Vishnu Aradhanam Param, Tasmat Parataram Devi, Tadiyanam Samacharam. That Tasmat Parataram means even better than Vishnu Aradhanam is the worship of the Vaishnavas. So Vaishnavas means one who's worshiping Krishna or Vishnu, but the best Vaishnavas are those who are worshiping Krishna. So Narottam Das Thakur said, I wasted the human form of life by not worshiping Radha and Krishna. I've worshipped so many things, my body, my mind, my country, this, that, worshiping a demigod. But Krishna says all these types of worship are not very auspicious. Except for worshiping Krishna, everything is more or less not up to the standard, not the highest worship. Even when one worships a powerful person in this world, or even one has knowledge of worshiping a demigod, even Brahma or Shiva, still that worship is imperfect. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita said that such worship is dhamma rit jnana. Rit jnana means nashta buddhiya, one who's lost his intelligence. So if we simply accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship him, then we're intelligent. We're using our proper intelligence. Otherwise, we're being foolish. No matter how many degrees we have, no matter how much people think that we're intelligent, if we're not worshiping Krishna, then we become foolish. that even the big demigods are under Krishna's control. Lord Shiva says he's under Krishna's control. And Brahma Samhita, Brahma says even this material nature is under Krishna's control. Shri Sti Siti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Eka Chayeva Yasya Vibharti Durga, Bhubhavani Vibharti Durga. That this material nature under Durga's control, who's creating, sustaining, and annihilating universes, is also simply the shadow of Krishna. So these big personalities are all worshiping Krishna, are under his control, then what to speak of our humble selves? How much more so we should take shelter of Krishna. So a devotee, he's humble, not because artificially he's trying to become humble, but because he realizes how great Krishna is, how great Krishna's devotees are. So a Vaishnava is ready to give respect to everyone, all living entities, because all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is in their heart. And because Krishna is in their heart, therefore every living entity is a temple for Vishnu. And as we come to the temple and we bow down, so we should also be humble in relationship with other living entities, because every living entity is also a temple for Vishnu. So, although they're part and parcel, still they're part of Krishna. Just like this finger is part and parcel of my body. If you offer my body respect, but you cut my finger, shall I be happy? No, if you offer respect to the body, you also have to offer respect to the part and parcel of the finger. Even a small ant, he's part and parcel of Krishna. So if I kill this ant, do you think Krishna will be happy? No, Krishna will be unhappy, because everything is part of Krishna. There's a story of Mrugari the hunter, which we've told before, how he was half killing the animals and taking pleasure in it. But ultimately, when he became a devotee, he was reluctant to even kill one ant, because he understood by Narada Muni's mercy how every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. So that's the effect of devotional service, that even a big animal killer, cruel person, when they became a devotee, they respected all living entities. So we cannot become Krishna conscious just by hearing, in conclusion. We also have to purify ourselves. Sarva padi vinirmuktam, tat parvena nirmalam, rishikena sevya bhakti uchite. That we become purified by engaging our senses in the service of Krishna. So when the soul renders service to Krishna, there's two side effects. One is that one becomes free from all material designations. And second is one's senses become purified by simply being employed in the service of Krishna. And then one can give up all these false designations that I'm an American, I'm Russian, I'm Indian, I'm male, I'm female, and simply identify oneself as the eternal servant of the servant of Krishna. And if we do that, then Krishna says, Kuntiya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashiti. Then Krishna will give us all protection. So if one becomes a devotee, a real devotee, a sincere devotee, then Krishna will protect one in all different circumstances, and there won't be any question of falling down from the spiritual platform. And if we don't do that, then we can fall down at any moment. If we refuse to take to this process, then we will remain a mudha, a rascal. So Prabhupada said that this Krishna consciousness movement is all over the world just to help people to understand the real God, Krishna. And if one refuses to do that, then Krishna says, Tanaham Twishita Kuran samsareshu naradamam, shipram jashvasu, shipram ajashram ashusham, that Tanaham Dvishatakura, Samsareshu Naranamam, Shipramaya Jasram Ashubam, Asrishveva Yonishu. To those who are mischievous and envious, the lowest among mankind, I perpetually put them into the lower species of life. So there's not an alternative. We should try to help people understand Krishna. The difficulties we find in the present society is simply due to lack of understanding of Krishna, lack of taking his instructions seriously. And the only solution, the only remedy is to tell people about Krishna and practically engage ourselves and others in Krishna service so that people can live a healthy, simple life in blissful Krishna consciousness, and therefore will cease to go against the workings of material nature, the workings of Krishna, and the workings of their own self-interest, to become Krishna conscious and accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions?
Maharaj, we often speak about eating and digesting, and I read that Krishna says in Uddhava Gita that he's the grain-bearing food, like whatever there is something that bears grain that represents him. So I was wondering how our consciousness can affect so much the grains when we cook, if it's Krishna himself, already the rice.
Well, everything comes from Krishna, but not that everything is Krishna. Everything is simultaneously one but different from Krishna, and Krishna remains as he is. Now, anything, if it's utilized in Krishna's service, becomes Krishnaized. Just like when you put the iron in the fire, it becomes hotter and hotter and hotter, and therefore it acts like fire. It's not fire, but it'll act like fire. Similarly, things used in Krishna's service, in Krishna consciousness, that spiritualizes the atmosphere by absorption in Krishna consciousness. But when things are utilized for material consciousness under the modes of nature, then the things we come in contact with and utilize in the modes of nature also take on those qualities of the modes of nature. Just like if we're in the mode of ignorance and you walk into someone's house who's in the mode of ignorance, you'll find that it's not neat, it's not orderly, it's not clean, because everything they come in contact takes on the same nature that they have. Similarly, if one is in the mode of goodness, then things will be neat, clean, in order, because everything they come in contact has the same develops the same quality that they have. And if one is Krishna conscious, then everything becomes spiritualized. Because Krishna is there, the spiritual world is there, the spiritual energy is there, and therefore everything we come in contact becomes spiritualized. It may appear to be ordinary, but actually it's spiritual. And those who are in Krishna consciousness, they can actually perceive the difference between the modes of nature and the spiritual quality of one who's in Krishna consciousness, and the things that are utilized in Krishna service. Anything else?
So, but Maharaj, when we cook, is it the consciousness, it means mind, or like the whole consciousness, like the person, like how can we make our cooking so much better if we are like so
Chant Hare
conditioned?
Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been appointed to discharge as a particular duty by Krishna, and I'm doing it just to please him. And in order to please him, I'm going to follow the instructions of his representatives and cook in that way, think in that way, speak in that way. just to please Krishna and his representatives.
Guru Maharaj,
Yes.
what in case if the heart is not involved? You know, I understand all these things, and it seems to me all what is engaged is the mind and the intelligence, but my heart is like a stone. What in case the heart is not involved?
Well, the heart must be involved, because without the heart being involved, we can't do anything. Without the soul being involved, voluntarily doing something, utilizing his mind and intelligence with this body, then it's not possible that we can do anything. So although we may not be experiencing ecstatic love of God, because our heart is not so purified, still, as Prabhupada wrote to me one time when I sent him some money for his book fund, he said, "Thank you very much for this contribution of love." No, I didn't send the money out of love. I sent it because I was supposed to send it. Because we were supposed to send whatever money we collected by distributing the little blue Bhagavad Gita to Srila Prabhupada. But Prabhupada took it as an act of love. So there is some love there, because I could have sent it to to a friend. Instead, I sent it to him. So he took that as an act of love. It may not be full Krishna prema, but it's certainly some appreciation, some understanding of the glory of Prabhupada, of a pure devotee and Krishna. So that appreciation is taken as the littlest part of love, at least part of love, appreciation. So everything we're doing, although we may not be feeling great ecstatic love, if it's being done under the directions of Krishna's representative, and we're doing it to the best we can, then that's love. And later on, that will develop into Krishna prema. So although in our activities presently, we may not be able to express such emotions, but we can express care and attention. We try to do something attentively and with some care, trying to do the best we can, then that's also love. Otherwise, in the material world, who actually has love for anyone? Man and woman, they get together, do they really love each other? Or are they trying to really just, there may be some emotion there, but is it actual love? Because if it was love, it wouldn't break, but it breaks very easily. But in order to express that love, therefore the man brings the woman flowers, the woman smiles at him, because they're trying as best they can to experience or to manifest something called love. Although ultimately they may feel something, but it may not be exactly pure love. But they're trying to express it to the best they can in the hopes that that relationship will develop. So similarly, we're trying to express ourselves. Prabhupada said that, for instance, if you don't feel like dancing, then dance anyhow. And then after some time, you'll feel like dancing. So that's devotional service. At the beginning, Krishna says, it may be bitter like poison, but at the end is like nectar, and if it awakens one to self-realization, said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. So sometimes devotional service, or many times it's an austerity, but it's a purifying austerity. And when Krishna sees that we're making some effort, even though we're reluctant to do so, even though it's uncomfortable for us, then he appreciates that austerity we're going through, and then he rewards us with greater and greater intelligence, how to make advancement towards actual love and awareness of Krishna. Okay, so I'll stop there. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Hari Hari
Hari
Bol.
Hare
Jai Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.